The movie opens with Arkham Asylum, the detention center for Gotham City's criminals. On a thundering, stormy night, the inmates are seen idling their lives away in the recreation room. Deep into a game of bingo, Penguin is irked by a fellow mate who wants his help to escape the prison, with a promise to split half of his hidden stash of stolen money safely tucked away in a crypt in the Gotham cemetery. However, he reveals to Penguin that he told the Joker before him, which is followed by the guards alerting him that the Joker has indeed broken out of the asylum. In the chaos that follows, the Penguin manages to subdue a guard and steals his keys to make it out of the asylum. As the Penguin makes his way to the cemetery, he comes across the Joker and proposes a deal to split the fortune to avoid any inconvenience. The Joker gets rid of the Penguin by shocking him with his electric buzzer and heads toward the cemetery, but he encounters his biggest adversary, Batman, who has been alerted of the breach at Arkham Asylum. While the two engage in a cat and mouse chase around Gotham City, they reach the water channels where Joker tries to electrify Batman with his buzzer, but ends up falling in the water, electrocuting himself to death. On the other hand, the Penguin reaches the cemetery and searches for the spot his fellow inmate had described for the hidden treasure. He finds the crypt and enters, only to find a heavily shackled coffin. As he pries it open with his umbrella sword, he accidentally snips his hand against the blade. He is furious to find a dusty mummy inside with no sign of the money. What he does not notice is that a drop of his blood falls on the heart of the corpse, bringing Count Dracula to life, who had been vanquished from Transylvania to Gotham City after his demise. Dracula chases Penguin out of his tomb, thirsty for his blood. However, he feeds on the night guard of the cemetery, regaining his power. He revives the deceased guard as a vampire. Dracula proceeds to hypnotize the Penguin into submission, making him his human servant. Next, Bruce Wayne meets with journalist Vicki Vale at a well-ambient restaurant for an interview, telling her about the new project of Wayne Industries regarding alternate energy resources. However, the interview shifts from professional to cordial as they both enjoy each other's company. Bruce invites her to a party at his mansion as his date. Batman is troubled by the random disappearance of people, or lost ones as the media describe them. On his night watch, Batman witnesses a woman being mugged. The thief is overpowered by a guard, actually, a vampire who feeds on the thief's body. The cop pretends to return the bag to the woman but attacks her, eliminating her before Batman can intervene. Batman fights the vampire guard, who is joined by the undead thug and the woman, both vampires now. Outnumbered by them, Batman notices their super strength and manages to escape while luring them to a head-on collision with a train. They evade it by disappearing, leaving Batman baffled. The next day, Bruce voices his concern regarding vampires to Alfred, who is busy making arrangements for the corporate party later that night. With Vicki on his arm as his date, Bruce fraternizes with the creme de la creme of Gotham City. As the Penguin wakes up Dracula after sunset, Dracula addresses all the vampires in his crypt that he intends to take over Gotham City with their help. Unbeknownst to Bruce, Dracula is intrigued by Batman's assumption of bats and makes his way to the party, posing as Dr. Alucard, pretending he has recently shifted to Gotham City from Europe as a cultural anthropologist. He catches the attention of Bruce when he comments on Vicky's necklace. He asks Bruce about his work, and Bruce shows him the latest project that stores solar energy. Overpowered by his thirst, Dracula uses his mind-controlling powers on Bruce to seclude him in order to feed on him. However, Alfred finds his master Wayne before Dracula has a chance to bite Bruce, rendering his plan unsuccessful. As Bruce snaps out of the trance, he is sure Dr. Alucard had something to do with it and he rushes to find him, while an angered Dracula looks on, who needs to find a new subject to feed on. He feeds on one of the waiter staff in the cellar. Alfred notifies Bruce that something is off about the said waiter, while Bruce makes his way through the crowd to find Dr. Alucard, only to see him exiting the mansion. Hot on his heels, when he gets to the doorstep, he notices that Alucard has vanished into thin air. However, he sees a huge bat flying away from the mansion. This is when he connects the dots and figures out the true identity of Dr. Alucard. He borrows lipstick from one of the guests and writes down Alucard's name on a serving dish, mirroring it for Alfred to see that it spells Dracula. In his Batcave, Batman researches the ancient vampire King Dracula alongside Alfred. Fearing that Dracula might create an army of vampires, Batman heads to his father's extensive library to seek out the cure for the converted vampires through an antidote, as well as devising a plan to stop Dracula. Vicki receives an urgent call from work while she is reading up articles on Bruce Wayne, sure that there is more to him than meets the eye. Next, she interviews a witness who is insistent he saw a bat at the scene of the abduction. The authorities associate the disappearance of citizens of Gotham City to be linked with Batman, rendering him the culprit. Meanwhile, the Penguin jokes about Batman being blamed for Dracula's doings as they watch the news, while Dracula is intrigued by Vicki and wishes to make her his bride. Batman tries to get to the bottom of this situation and figures he'll start with Dracula's first prey, the first person that went missing, the night guard at the cemetery. He makes his way to the cemetery to find the whereabouts of the vampires, but is unable to complete his search as he is targeted by a SWAT team, who believe he is the culprit behind the abductions. He manages to escape and hides in an abandoned building, followed by the SWAT. However, one by one they keep disappearing as Dracula takes advantage of this ambush and eliminates them all. Dracula shows up behind Batman in his true form and asks him to join his legion. Batman refuses to side with him. Dracula announces he'll eliminate Batman, and then the fight between the two bats begins. Despite his garlic-laced weapons, Batman is no match for Dracula's supernatural strength. He is about to eliminate Batman, but the sun rises from the horizon, forcing Dracula to retreat into the shadowed alley and disappear, promising to eliminate him on their next encounter. Batman returns to his Batcave where Alfred tends to his injuries. On his way to wake up his master, the Penguin is surprised to see Joker, well and alive, who sustained the electrocution he brought upon himself. Despite the Penguin warning him, the Joker assumes that the Penguin is hiding the promised riches from him, so he enters the vault of Dracula, where he becomes his victim. Batman is alerted of a breach at the blood bank, and he is all too sure that it is a vampire's bidding. He heads there to find the Joker, a vampire now, responsible for the break-in. After a fight, Batman manages to overpower the Joker with the garlic bombs, capturing him to work on an antidote to cure vampirism. Batman conducts various experiments on the Joker, with much trial and error, to reach a suitable cure, while Alfred dawns upon him that Dracula once had a wife, Carmilla Karnstein, who died because of exposure to sunlight. Batman finally concocts an antidote and cures the Joker, who reveals the location of Dracula. Batman registers that the antidote removes the Joker's memory of vampirism as well. Batman delivers Joker back to Arkham Asylum and manufactures infinite amounts of the antidote as he gets ready to finish the monster, tarnishing his reputation and city both. Alfred advises that Bruce make his advances after sunrise to have an advantage over Dracula. Engrossed in his research, Bruce completely forgets he'd invited Vicki over for dinner that Saturday night, so he sends Alfred to inform her that he's working late. She waits a great deal of time, but when she realizes he won't be coming, she leaves, telling Alfred that it's getting late. She misses her train and comes across Dracula posing as Dr. Alucard, who offers her some company that she politely declines. She calls Bruce and leaves him a voicemail stating whom she crossed paths with. When Bruce calls her back, she does not answer. Bruce remembers that Alucard was taking a lot of interest in Vicki at the expo party, confirming his fear that Dracula had indeed kidnapped Vicki. Fighting against time, Batman arrives at Gotham's cemetery, and luckily for him, Joker's footprints guide him to Dracula's catacomb, where Dracula is trying to resurrect his bride from her ashes, using Vicki's soul as the medium. When Dracula learns of Batman's presence, he instructs his army to get Batman. Finding himself surrounded by bloodthirsty vampires, Batman begins injecting them with the antidote that cures them all. Left with a single antidote, he makes his way to Dracula. As he begins to aim the antidote at Dracula, the latter tries to take over Batman's mind with his hypnotic power. Batman fights it but eventually gives in, and the antidote falls to the ground, destroyed. Due to his intense training, Batman is finally able to snap out of Dracula's hold of his mind, astounding Dracula. Batman then disrupts the resurrection ceremony, and Vicki wakes up, finding Batman by her side. Devastated to lose his bride again, Dracula claims he will feed on Vicki. Batman asks Vicki to run for shelter while he engages in the final battle with the enraged Dracula. While Vicki is trying to get away from the cemetery, the Penguin follows her, intent on not letting her get away from his master Dracula's clutches. Vicki enters a crypt where the Penguin comes across the promised treasure, but with his mind being controlled by Dracula, all he can think about is getting Vicki back to his master. Batman keeps Dracula at his toes and, as per his carefully crafted plan, makes his way through the catacombs with Alfred's help, eventually leading Dracula to his Batcave. Dracula, his head full of his invincibility, fails to stop Alfred from injecting him with the antidote. However, he laughs at them as the antidote could never fix a supernatural being. He hits Alfred, who falls to the floor. Batman tricks Dracula into following him to the solar energy storing device chamber, and when he has Dracula in position, he projects sunlight beams at him, annihilating Dracula. Before dying, Dracula realizes that Batman is Bruce Wayne, to which Batman replies that he is the only Batman in Gotham City. The Penguin's mind is no more under the control of his now deceased master. He stops chasing Vicki and finds himself speaking gibberish. He gets distracted by the sheen of all the gold in the vault, realizing he has found the much coveted treasure. As Vicki runs to safety, the SWAT team captures the Penguin, much to his dismay. The media pins the blame on the Penguin that he was trying to retrieve mob treasure by abducting citizens and making them search for it under his influence. With Batman's reputation cleared, peace is restored in Gotham City once again, thanks to its superhero, the Dark Knight.